Hey, hello, and welcome to Talking with Tony. It's my pleasure to welcome back a member of our football panel, a familiar face here to Talking with Tony, but a guy we haven't had on for a little bit of time now. John Perkerson, how are you, John?
Tony, good to see you. Glad to be back. I guess we just wanted to leave the people wanting more. So hopefully I give the people what they want.
Yeah, that might be very, very well what it was, or it might just be poor organizational skills by me. But I'm glad to have you. You've been a fixture here on Talking with Tony for the last several years, first in studio and now most of our, you've been in a studio here, so to speak, but most of our shows on Zoom. So how's I look at your overall record, which is over 500 at 38 and 37 for the panel and 4 and 3 with the five stars. How have you felt about the football season so far?
Especially the NFL, it's been wild and wacky. I guess the best terms, like last night, Bills getting beat down by the Falcons. And, obviously, thankfully I picked Georgia this week, even though that was another cluster of what. But, would love to be doing better, but 500, I'll take it.
On the Buffalo Atlanta game, was not surprised there's so many Buffalo fans, Northern transplants here, and the people follow the Bills anyway, and need a reason to come to Atlanta and a chance to see Buffalo. But that was a great home win for the Falcons. They needed that, get them back to 500. Tampa has been in the division. Tampa's been finding ways to win in the final minute, including the game in Atlanta earlier this year. So it keeps the Falcons still within distance, although, they're still two full games back and they've lost to the Bucks.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't watch the NFL as much as I do college, but I do try to follow the Falcons. And, I was talking with Sarah last night about it because we were actually supposed to go to Atlanta, but we kind of thought the same thing of, there's going to be a lot of people either who have moved down here from, you know, New York and, James Cook being a UGA guy, a lot of Georgia fans were probably showing up to the Mercedes Benz last night. So, I'm happy for the Falcons. I always want to see them do well. I mean, I'm always a pessimist with them because it's always where they played 17 games now. It always seems like when you think they're going to tank, they come back and they finish 9-8 or 8-9. So that way, when you think, oh, we're finally going to have a top 10 pick, nope, we're going to still have the 17th or 18th pick.
Well, yeah, that's true. Hey, I was in your backyard last week and had lunch with Chip Walker, and it was good to catch up with him. Had to be strange emotions for you the night of the Noonan East Coweta game, considering your time previously at East Coweta, but it was good to see Noonan get a victory and stop that streak, and it was fun to catch up with him. Sorry that I didn't get a chance to run over and see you as well. You mentioned that you might have gone to Atlanta. You love going to concerts, going to places like the Tabernacle and seeing shows, right?
I do. I enjoy it. That's actually where we were supposed to go last night. And just one of those, just a lot of stuff caught up with us. And, we checked Google Maps and it was like, oh, it's going to be a 2-hour trip to the Tabernacle. It's like, I think I may have to just skip this one tonight. But thankfully,
Well, you have a wedding just around the corner in five weeks or so, I believe, 5.5 weeks, something like that. So that'll be here before you know it as well.
yeah, it's hard to believe, but we're all excited over here. It's very excited.
I've had a chance to get to know your mom and dad last couple of years. How are they? Things doing okay for them?
Yeah, doing well. Caught up with them yesterday. Actually, we were talking on the phone, and right when we got off, I met them for lunch over there, kind of in Sharpsburg, and doing well. They're excited as well. They've been a big help with the rehearsal dinner and everything else, and just trying to make sure everything goes as smoothly as possible for Sarah and I.
Yeah, amen. All right, well, let's pick some football if you want to. We have 10 games to go through. We'll begin on a Friday night game at Minnesota, Big Ten matchup. This more of the classic Big Ten matchup. John will send you a text message or a Facebook post when who like say Oregon plays Rutgers or something. Just another classic Big Ten matchup. Nebraska has been in the Big Ten long enough where we can accept this with Minnesota. Speaking of teams that have fans that travel, Nebraska certainly has that. Now they're favored by 7.5, and they're finding ways to win games late as well. How do you think they do on the road at Minnesota?
Just to make sure, I picked them. I'm not going to be surprised if we hear Matt Rule's name a lot for this open Penn State job. So, it's I think he's committed to Nebraska, but he has shown he is a program builder, and if there's a good offer that comes his way, he's not afraid to listen to it.
All right, so you go with Nebraska minus 7.5 against Minnesota. Your five-star pick is in the next contest. It's the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets at Duke. Tech having quite a season. The odds makers actually like Duke in this game. They have Duke favored by 3. What is your prediction?
I think probably closer than people think because I'm sure most people think, oh, Duke football, there ain't going to be much there. But, you know, I just, I think Brent Key, Buster Faulkner, all those guys, they're doing a great job there. And so I think probably, close three, 3.5 quarter game. And then probably, the last 5, 10 minutes or so, Tech probably pulls ahead 7 or 10 points. I know that will make Stormy happy.
Well, Stormy actually went with Duke minus 3. So
I'm the real Tech fan, man.
but it's interesting. Out of the 5 of y'all, 3 of you have chosen this game for your five-star. You have chosen it for your five-star, and you are 4-3 with the five stars this year. Kevin is 2-5 with five stars, and he has chosen Georgia Tech +3 with his five-star pick. And Danny, who is 3-4 with his five stars, is going with Duke -3 for his five-star. I am 15-13 overall, 6-1 in the five stars. This is not my five-star pick, but I like Duke here too in this spot. Duke -3. So we are very divided. Fred's with Georgia Tech too. Nothing on the five-star selection there, but and as I mentioned, Stormy was on Duke, but not with a five-star. So you can tell there's feelings both sides in this contest, John.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just I think it's always one of those things. Probably that Tech Wake Forest game has a lot of people thinking too. So we'll just see. I'm excited to see how it goes down.
College game day is going to be in Athens. You spent time in Athens yourself. Georgia's coming off the victory at Auburn. Georgia is favored by 7 at home against Ole Miss. Now, I didn't choose this game. But I think I said earlier in this year that Ole Miss had the easiest schedule in the SEC, that they could afford a 40-7 loss in Athens and still make the SEC championship game and have an argument, of course, for the college football playoff. I kind of still feel this way. I'm not picking anything here, but I believe the Bulldogs win comfortably. I see that you're on the same page. You like Georgia -7.
Yeah, this is one of those games. I mean, I'm a homer. I'm never going to pick against UGA unless it's just very apparent. But it could be one of those like, 2 years ago when they had Jackson Dart, they came into Athens and got thumped 52-7. Last year Georgia went to Oxford, got thumped. So, I wouldn't be shocked if it's, finally out of the 3 years, because it seems like now we play Ole Miss all the time now. But if it's a close game or if either of the two teams gets stumped, it's hard to tell. But I do like the fact that Gunnar Stockton has now gone into Auburn, gone into Knoxville, come out with 2 big wins. And this is Ole Miss's, that guy was playing D2 last year. Now he's very talented. There's no doubt about that. But this would be the first time he's coming into a pretty hostile environment.
Speaking of five stars, Stormy agrees with you. He's 4-3 with his five stars this year, and his five-star selection is Georgia -7. So he pulls the trigger on this game. That leaves only Fred with his Fred and myself with five stars still to release, and we're actually on the same NFL game on opposite teams. It will be interesting because Lane Kiffin will make it fun and will make it interesting, but the atmosphere with game day being there and all, that's a huge challenge for the Rebels.
Yeah. Did you hear Lane's joke about Kirby today? Or
I
yeah.
didn't.
So some reporter made the joke. So something to the effect of Lane, it's basically kind of rumored that you and Kirby are probably the two coaches that burn the most calories during the game because y'all are constantly moving and energetic. And Lane goes, "Well, that's an interesting take you say there. Now, I just walked by and I saw Kirby on the TV, and it doesn't look like he's burning many calories." It's like, well, Lane knows how to stir things up, that's for sure. But I have heard before and read and heard them both say they're good buddies. So I'm sure it's just good buddies razzing each other. But see
Yeah,
what they're
I suppose Kiffin has some fun with I think just about all the coaches. It's crazy that his team is as good as they are because I think it was at SEC Media Days. Somebody's asking him about Hugh Freeze, and he said something about like, well, I've been reading about Hugh's been winning golf tournaments that he's been entering. He's pretty successful, and then he stopped for like 3 seconds and he went, "Don't get me wrong, I'm happy for him." Freeze may be the better of the golfers and as far as coaches go in the conference. A couple of years ago, you appeared here on the show and you nailed the Texas Oklahoma score, the Red River. We refer to it as the Red River Shootout here on Talking with Tony, like they used to. And I mentioned this in the broadcast last week with our guest picker Danny Arp, who went 8-2 again. The last two times he's appeared, he's been really really strong, and that's certainly put down the gauntlet of a challenge for you. This Texas has been in that game against Oklahoma. Man, they needed a win. It was kind of like when I picked Texas last week, I said to me, this is their final stand. They have to win this game. I felt that same way about Florida the week before when I picked Florida against Texas, and that worked out. Now, since Florida has lost to A&M, it's pretty costly for them. But as far as Texas goes, they should come out of that Oklahoma game with a lot of confidence, especially for Manning. I don't know how much of that game you got to see, but now they take 11 and a half point spread with them to Kentucky. And just about everybody here on the panel likes Texas other than Danny, the five of you members that picked it. Are you on the same page as me that that was more than just a victory for Texas on Saturday?
I think so, especially for Arch finally getting like a confidence boost against not only your biggest opponent, but an SEC opponent, not doing it at home, doing it at, neutral site. And, poor Kentucky. I heard somebody say it on a podcast best. Mark Stoops is the prime example of you can stay somewhere too long. And, he probably should have jumped on one of those jobs when he could because it's not looking too good for him at the end of this year. And, Texas with confidence going into Kentucky, who's just kind of limping along. I don't see it going well for the Wildcats.
Is Stoops the longest tenured coach in the SEC? He is, right?
I think that's right. I'll look that up once we get off this call, but I would think so because if I remember right, he was a year or two in, and he was still coaching against Mark Richt, and that's been 10 years ago now since Richt was gone.
Yeah, and with Saban retiring, I feel that way. I feel like Stoops says, and I mean, I think he's done a good job. I mean, it's not an easy place to play, and you're never going to be the top dog. It's going to be the basketball program, and but so Texas, you like them, even though they're favored by 11 and a half Saturday in Lexington.
I think so. I mean, and could it all just go back to Texas is playing like they were before? It could, but I think just that's probably a big confidence boost for them, and they're getting the right team at the right time.
Notre Dame and Southern Cal play at Notre Dame on Saturday evening. I love when the game's in South Bend and you get to see the Trojans away jerseys with Notre Dame's home jerseys. I think that's the perfect blend. I think SC has some of the finest away jerseys, and I like Notre Dame's home jerseys. Now, for the game itself, the Fighting Irish are favored by 8, and they have no room for error. Even though they only lost by like a total of 4 points, but they did come out of the gates, and they played good football teams. Miami, Florida, to me, looks as good in passing the eye test as anyone, as physical as they are. But Notre Dame has no room for error, especially since they don't play in a conference championship game at the end of the season. So there's some pressure there on them. We know SC's got an incredible offense, but there's some defensive questions to be answered. Now, they were impressive against Michigan, but that game was at home. Now they go across, not all the way across the country, but they have to go to Indiana, where Notre Dame is favored by 8. How do you see this?
I think overall, I think Lincoln Riley is a good coach, but he just folds in big games, and he always has, even at Oklahoma. So, I would just not be surprised if Notre Dame goes out there, big home game, it's always dangerous when you have to play a team that's got their back against the wall and has nothing to lose. So, I mean, Notre Dame, I could see them just coming out and jumping all over them early and putting this one away quick.
They've had some success against SC in the series, especially at home lately, where SEC had a good run, 10, 15 years ago in the series, but Notre Dame's been holding serve, especially at home. The Fighting Irish favored by 8, and that's John's pick, Notre Dame -8. Another 8-point spread is Alabama Crimson Tide at home against Tennessee. This one caught my interest earlier because Fred and Stormy both agree with you, -8 with Alabama, but Danny and Kevin are both on Tennessee +8. Danny really fears Aguilar as a player for Tennessee. You don't you think the Crimson Tide pretty much? I don't want to say with ease they need to win by 9 or 10, but that's comfortable victory though.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it a lot being kind of like last week, UGA Auburn, hopefully without the wacky calls, but, close for, 40, 45 minutes and then just Alabama kind of pulling away. I mean, you can make the argument that the two best quarterbacks in the SEC are about to play each other this weekend with those two, but I just think Ty is just playing a little bit better than Aguilar right now. But if I eat my words, I'll eat my words. But I'm going with the Tide, especially with it being at home. It's just that seems like it is a tough place to go in and leave with a win, unless you're Auburn, of course.
So Alabama -8 is John's selection. Let's do 4 NFL games and begin with the Kansas City Chiefs, who will be coming off a tremendous win against the Detroit Lions on Sunday night. I guess that was Sunday night football. These nights run together. This time, this is one of the great rivalries in the NFL going back to the, old days. And they're favored by 12 over the Raiders, and the Raiders haven't had. Raiders historically are great, but they haven't been great in a while now. I see that you at home you believe the Chiefs no problem here with the now Las Vegas Raiders, formerly Oakland, Los Angeles, and Oakland again, but now Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah, I just the Chiefs again. That's just one where every time you pick them, it blows up in my face. But it just seems like the Raiders. I think Pete Carroll will get them on the right track, but right now he's going to struggle. But I guess too, it's kind of interesting to think about. They will play again at the end of the season, but you know, something I thought about is a lot of people think Kelsey is the greatest tight end in the league. I know there's a lot of others you could say as well, like Kittle, Ertz, even though he's kind of past his prime, but you could kind of see these two games as with more than likely Kelsey retiring at the end of the year, kind of passing the torch to Brock Bowers. So um, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see if the Raiders just build a team around him or what they do in the future. Because, I think Carroll's going to try to do what he did with the Seahawks and try to build a little dynasty there. And he's got some good pieces.
I'm surprised that Brock Bowers just hasn't found the end zone in the NFL this season. He's a weapon, so I feel like he needs to be as utilized as often as he can. He was shaken up a couple of games ago. I don't know if he's 100% right now, but we both know of his talent and his abilities and how great of a player that he certainly is. The Chargers and the Colts. This is an interesting game. This game is out west in California. The Chargers only favored by 1.5. The Colts have come out of nowhere. Daniel Jones just has looked tremendous. And Jonathan Taylor in the running game, but the defense is pretty good. And when they had to stop the Cardinals on Sunday to, I believe, get to 5-1, they were able to come up with a stand inside their 10 and win by 4. They may have gotten away with a pass interference call on fourth down against McBride. There certainly was some holding there. I'm my second selection of the program. I'm going with the Chargers -1.5, but I go very carefully here because I respect what the Colts are doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think I picked the Colts. It's just been really neat to see what Daniel Jones has done this year. It makes you wonder if just the Giants are kind of cursed with quarterbacks, and who knows, maybe Jackson Dart's going to break that curse. I guess it helps having Cam Scatterbo as well, who just doesn't seem to care about any of anyone's well being.
Denver is at home against the Giants, favored by 7. This traditionally a hard place to go in and play football. The Broncos. Bo Nix is the quarterback. You mentioned Jackson Dart a little earlier. He's done better than I think most people anticipated him doing, but he doesn't have some of his weapons. I'm not sure about the status of Slayton, but Neighbors is obviously out here. I don't have a pick, but I see that you go with the home team -7.
Yeah, I just think you know, they may be, as the term goes, they may be feeling themselves a little bit too much after the Eagles game. And, you kind of think that eventually him and Scatabo are kind of due for that welcome to the league rookie game. And this may be it, going into Denver, hard place to play. And, I mean, Denver, they're looking pretty good from what I've seen so far.
The final game is my final selection, and it is my 5 star. I'm taking the Cardinals +6.5 at home against the Packers. This is the Cardinals are better than their record indicates. They've lost some heartbreakers, including the one in San Francisco to the 49ers and the Colts, and they can't let too many more games get away from them. I think they need they're going to have to play their best game of the year to beat Green Bay, but they need a victory. They need this upset win. So, given the opportunity to take the +6.5, I'm going the 6.5. I'm the only one that's got the Cardinals. That is my 5 star. The 5 members of the panel all take the Packers, and Fred goes with his 5 star. It's the Packers. He's 3-4 with his 5 stars, and he's got the Packers -6.5. I am 6-1 with my 5 stars, and I'm going with the Cardinals +6.5. So, whereas I'm not real pleased with my record, 15-13, I am pleased with the 5 stars. Though you like Jordan Love and that Packer offense going out to Arizona, where they will have a ton of fans in the stands themselves.
Oh yeah, and I don't know, Arizona, it just always seems like there's that one team that's better than their record, but they can just never get over that hump of, once things start just kind of going against them, they can't break it. Now maybe this will be the week, but that's just a bet I never really want to go against. So that's why. And that uh, you know, Green Bay is always willing to take a chance on drafting a UGA guy. So even though I'll always be a Falcons fan, I do appreciate Green Bay, doing what they do there.
We'll roll everybody's picks at the end of the program, but I will give a chance for Jake to put up everybody's 5 stars right now. But I'll start with my only soccer selection of the evening. I'm 3-3 with soccer after starting real poor. I'll go with one selection at a 6:30 a.m. Central start on Saturday. Nottingham Forest over plus. I like them plus a half a goal against Chelsea. You got to get up really early. I think it's on USA Network. That's 7:30 a.m. Eastern. Most people would just look at the score on the cell phone and see how it do. But I like Nottingham Forest plus a half a goal there. I am 15-13, 6-1 with the 5 stars. I go with Duke minus. I'll give you my all of mine. Duke -3, the Chargers -1.5. My 5 star, Cardinals +6.5. Danny is 3-4 with his 5 stars. His 5 star selection is Duke -3. John is 4-3 with his 5 stars. He likes the Yellow Jackets of Georgia Tech +3. Fred 3-4 with 5 stars. He goes opposite of me with his 5 star. He takes the Cardinals. I'm sorry, he takes the Packers against the Cardinals, my selection. He takes the Packers -6.5. Stormy's 5 stars, Georgia -7. He's 4-3 with his 5 stars, so he's looking to get a little ahead of 500 up to 5-3. And then Kevin, 2-5 with his 5 stars, has John nervous, Georgia Tech +3. And I say that because that's John's 5 star as well. Hey, that's the football talk. Let's talk just a little bit of movies here before we say goodnight to you. A movie that we both immensely enjoyed was the original Black Phone. The Black Phone 2 is now coming out in the theater. I get excited when I leave a movie and it exceeded my expectations. That was the case for the original Black Phone. I've read some great things about Black Phone 2, and our film critic that we use here on Talking with Tony out of Dallas, Texas, Daniel Cummins, he feels like this is going to be better than the first one. When I hear that, I get excited because it's hard to make a sequel, John, better than the original.
Yeah, no, and I remember I was on a trip to Helen, and I remember you called me after you got out of the theater and said you got to see this movie and you got to see it ASAP. And basically, I did when I got home and was shocked. So I'm excited. I know we're making plans to try to go see it together, and hopefully that works out. But Um, yeah, I mean, I'm not the biggest horror movie guy, but how we were talking on the phone yesterday, it's more of a suspenseful movie with some horror aspects, and I'm just excited to kind of see where they continue on with this, especially I guess too, like how are they bringing this guy back? I won't spoil the end just in case someone hasn't seen it. It's very interesting to see what path and avenues they're going to go here with this movie.
One of the things I really respected about the first one is they didn't play music throughout it, but the song selection that they did use were songs that I really enjoy all of them. So I kind of want to see what songs are used for the second one and when kind of revisit that. But including most prominently in my mind was Fox on the Run by a band called The Sweet
Oh
was in
yeah.
the first one, and which is an exceptional song. So I do now because I've read a little bit and Daniel's opinion influences greatly on me. I have some expectations for this. So if it doesn't have to be better than the original one, but if it doesn't come up to the expectations that I'm kind of building for, it will be a little bit of a disappointment. But the first one I thought was fabulous. Has there been any movie here in 2025 that has maybe exceeded your expectations that you've been able to see?
Well, even though it didn't come out in theaters, the John Candy documentary that just came out on Amazon, that was great. You know, it's one of those obviously when that time comes for all of us, which hopefully is long, long away for all of us, you just hope that people, even 30 plus years later, will be able to say the type of things those folks were saying about him. Um, I unfortunately haven't gotten to the theaters as much as I would like, just kind of a busy season. But I went and saw The Naked Gun. I love that. I love just a stupid slapstick movie where you can just turn your brain off. Something I was a little surprised about this year, the two Marvel movies that came out, the Fantastic Four and I can't think why is it slipping my name right now, but the other one that was kind of like the B team Avengers, they were both pretty good movies and I enjoyed them. And I just was reading that they were both just box office bombs, which I thought was kind of unfortunate. But I think we're just kind of in a stage right now with movies and with all the stuff going on where I don't know if we're going to see numbers like we used to, where, you may have a movie come out that could make $1 billion anymore. I just don't know if people really care to go to movies that much anymore. I hope not, because I enjoy going to the theater and I don't want that to become a thing of the past like printed newspapers.
Unfortunately for people like myself, people like Jake Barton, people like yourself, people like Daniel Cummings, the people that they're trying to punish right now, they're increasing the fees to go to these movies and the concession stand prices. We're the ones paying, right? They should be rewarding us or rewarding us, for what our faithfulness, our loyalty has been to them. And that's just not the feeling that I get. And I do worry about the future of movies. It's just, I don't know how much it can go on and sustain itself when people can stream so much, at home in shorter periods of time. Used to be you had to wait for it to come on HBO or Showtime or something like that, and the you just don't have that wait now.
Yeah. Yeah, it stinks. I mean, I think it's one of those things you always got to adapt with change, but there's just some change that you don't have to be a big fan of.
That's well said. Anything that's coming up other than the Black Phone 2 that has piqued your interest, and you're like, okay, kind of looking forward to this?
Again, I know I'm not the biggest horror movie guy, but I'm very interested in that Good Boy movie about the dog because it was something I started hearing about in January when they started screaming it or screening it, sorry, at film festivals and the whole thing of they used very little special effects and they trained the dog and it's all from the dog's point of view. I don't know, that's kind of interests me because just big fan of dogs and overall, I think I got to catch up on these Tron movies. I, I know you're big on the real type movies, but um, it's interesting to see where they may go with that. I saw a funny meme today that believe in yourself as much as movie studios believe in Jared Leto. Uh, but overall, I'm a little behind, but we're coming up on another fun. Like, once we get to November and December, that's when some good movies usually come out. And that's when, I know that's your big time of year because that's when a lot of the Academy Award movies will start coming out.
Absolutely.
So yeah, looking forward to seeing what those have in store for us as well.
Yeah, me too. You're right. And once it gets to this time of the year, October, gets closer to Halloween, some trickle down in October, but the majority are actually between Thanksgiving week and the New Year. And it's hard to make time. We get caught up in like different Christmas stuff. We still have our jobs and we still have, work to do and assignments and all. But I do try to get to the movie theater as much as I can. And if I can't, I certainly try to find, where it's streaming as fast as I can because, we sometimes movies that are nominated for Best Picture, they hit the theater, but they don't necessarily hit the theater where I live or in Noonan. And you're resigned to only streaming it as your only opportunity then.
Right. Yeah. Like All Quiet on the Western Front a few years ago. That wasn't any movie theater I remember being in.
No, no, there's a couple each year. And I also try to see the five foreign films, and those are even harder to locate. Can usually locate them before the Oscars, but not necessarily before the new year. Last year, I was in a Memphis theater, and they showed the five documentary shorts one after the other. And I'm talking like one after the other. There was no time to go to the restroom or anything. When one of them was over with, they just trickled to the next. And that was really cool to see those and not have to go search for them later. And then when it was time for that award, I was familiar with all of them. So that was kind of cool. Final thoughts for you, John?
I just appreciate being back on. It was a lot of fun, and looking forward to this weekend. My future brother-in-law is actually getting married up in Chattanooga, so I'll have to kind of play phone watching to keep up with the scores and everything. But hopefully, it goes well for everybody.
All right. Well, safe travels. Congratulations to them. And we're excited for you and Sarah come no November as well. Folks, that's all the time we have tonight for talking with Tony for our outstanding producer, Jay Barton, who's in Noonan, Georgia, for John Perkerson. He's also in Noonan, Georgia. I'm Tony Jones, your host. We'll see you next time right here on Talking with Tony.